Welcome in to Tribe Talk. Here it's week number 4 and coming off of a tough, hard-fought loss to Mount Air. 16-14 final score for the Clarke Indians. Joining us now is the head football coach of the Clarke Indians. That is Dwayne Mathis. Coach, thank you for taking some time here and talking with us. Obviously, it was not the outcome you guys would like, but when you look at the scoreboard, it really indicated where the team is coming.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought game, Damon. Our boys laid it all on the line, and unfortunately, sometimes you get this where you come out on the other end of things. But all we can ask for is to be in it and have a chance to win it at the end of the game, and we did. And I told our boys. How bad that this probably feels. That when they woke up this morning, the sun's still going to rise, and we're on to Sadell week. So it's tough. More so that it eats me up inside is not the game, not the loss, but we lost a pretty good player in Peyton Winship, and that's kind of where my thoughts are, and to see how he's coming along and what he's heard from the doctor, and that's kind of where my head's at. And if he ever listens to this, I don't know if he does. We love him, and we're gonna rally around him, and he's a great young man, and I'm sure he'll come out stronger.
Obviously a tough loss on the both sides of the ball, but really on the offensive side, a guy like you have mentioned in the previous 3 weeks, a guy who gets the offense going, gets a spark like that. Now you got in a situation here with him most likely done for the rest of the year. Obviously don't know that for sure for the extent, but most likely at this point. As you guys go forward, do you think you can, or do you have, I guess, another guy that is a spark player like that can fill his shoes?
Well, I think so. As we scored a touchdown with Chris Carson, and he was in that position that Peyton's played before. Mm-hmm. So we have weapons, mm-hmm. Where we can, move the ball, and that was, and we have all the faith in the world. I just think, by all means, our season isn't over one player kind of deal. That's not what I'm saying. It's Peyton's senior year. He is kind of our motor. He's a great, when people see how much he is, throwing his body around and fighting for extra yardage. He inspires players with his effort, and so I just think that we're going to move on. We'll keep playing, and I think the guys are really don't want to. I don't want to say dishonor, but just let Peyton down now, mm-hmm. by not going out there and giving their best effort. So I think they'll go out and compete as hard as they can, and kind of play for Peyton at this point, in a sense.
And you talk about the interchanging of your guys' offense. You just mentioned Chris Carson went and played in Peyton's position, in that sense where Peyton was previously at. You guys have multiple different guys who can come in and change. I'm sure that's the nice thing about your offense, is knowing that you've got guys who know what their assignment is, no matter what position they're put in.
We had so many players playing out of what they normally played on Friday night, it seemed, just because we've been hit with this injury bug the last couple weeks, and we've been scrambling, especially probably more so defensively than offensively. But to Coach Reese's credit, we were able to fix it and get some players coached up and plugged in the position that they were playing last night. But I'm just my heart's really full right now, Damon, because our guys just went out and competed, and I was telling our other coaches this morning, I watched the last, we uploaded our film to Huddle, and was watching the last play that we scored on, and I literally had tears coming down my face watching it because, and not because of the result, not because we ended up losing the game, but to see all the players when we scored that touchdown, just just the joy that Dalton Stubbe's like fist pump in the air, and he never, he's like a man of so many words, and that's sarcasm. But to see that excitement and to see that joy and to see that passion from our players, it was just such a beautiful thing. And I know we're gonna have more moments like that, but after last season, we didn't have moments like that, and it was just great. I'm just really proud.
And a lot to be proud about because of where you guys have come as a program from a year ago. We're going into the first week of district play. Granted, last year district play would have started by now, but you're sitting here in week number 4 at 2-2 and easily looking at possibly 3-1, possibly 4-0. A couple plays here or there. But then you look at last year and you're sitting at 0-4, and that was no mistake about it. This season to last year, what was the change that the players have really kind of bought into?
I don't know if it's necessarily the change in the offense. I think that helps a lot, actually. And the kids have bought into it. That's always the kind of, the worry is, when you change your system to something that we're running is not like the sexy offense
right.
of what you see on Monday Night Football or in most colleges or really any college football team running, and kids saying to themselves, well, this isn't what I see on TV. I don't want to run this. We never throw the ball. We it's just run. And but to the credit to our kids, they're like, this is easy. And they all bought in.
Right.
So they know what they're doing. We're getting better every week. I think the other thing is that, we did have a lot more kids in the weight room this summer, and I do give credit to our baseball program to really, during the summer, that they, helped facilitate that and encourage their baseball players, to be there. So obviously, Coach Smith and Coach Wisniewski and any of the other baseball coaches that I'm missing out there that help out in the program. But I think that that helped tremendously, and hopefully it'll continue, and we'll continue to see our numbers go up and up and up. So.
Specifically about last night's game now, obviously it didn't come out in the favor you wanted it to, but you can't say it wasn't because of a lack of trying or a lack of opportunities. You guys had multiple chances late in drives, and then obviously late in the ball game you were able to move right down to the field and be able to score late in the game. You look at that in its own right, and you can kind of see in that picture, its sense that the culture's kind of going in the right direction with that sense, because you look at a team a year ago or even a couple of years ago who knows if they'd have been in that same situation, if you would have been able to move down the field and take a lead with, a minute 44 left.
Yeah, we that was pretty insane, because, to set up that, fourth down play, we also had a second down play that, resulted in a really long third down play. Fonnie bobbled the snap, and we ended up losing some yardage there. But then we got a little bit of, obviously 10 yards back on the third down play, but it set up a fourth and 5. And, this is, granted, prior to the start of this drive, Peyton goes down, with his knee injury. So now we have a whole, Riley's back at quarterback. We have to move Chris to wing back to take where Riley was playing.
Right.
So, we're shuffling players around, and, and not to mention, then we got more guys playing both ways,
Right.
and guys are tired late in the game. Do they have anything left in the tank to punch this in? And obviously Peyton has always been kind of the spark plug, but I think the position where he plays is kind of the spark plug to our team. Really, I mean, it gives us an opportunity to take some big shots. And during that timeout in the 4th and 5, I looked at Chris Carson and I said, "Hey, we're coming to you, and I believe you can do it." And he goes, "I got it." And I was never more sure of anything when he said that. And if you watch that play, that's just nothing but green grass for him. I mean, it was just executed perfectly. Dalton influenced his D end, and he cut in front of him. And once he cut in front, widened things way open, and their linebacker flowed hard to that side, and it just was no one there. And it was just it was a great play. But talking about just our offense in general, we had a 10-play drive in the first half that we scored on. In the second half, we had a 15-play drive that ended up not getting any points, 16-play drive that didn't get any points. Then a 15-play drive that we scored that touchdown on. And then there was another opportunity where we were in the red zone that we didn't get any points. So it really, the difference is, last week, second to last play, Brian Avalos hurts his wrist. And their coach said to me after the game, "Well, we're lucky you didn't have your kicker." Because we had 2 opportunities probably inside our red zone that we didn't walk away with any points, because we had to go for it on 4th down because we didn't have that threaten with our kicking game like we normally have.
Right.
So, I don't know if there's a chance that we can get him back. I know I'm kind of, saying about 10 Hail Marys every night to see if we can, but it's, if we can get him back, that's going to put us in a pretty good situation.
Absolutely, and it gives you guys, like you said, that extra weapon inside the red zone or even inside that area generally to be able to go for those 3 points. And like you said, it could be a difference maker in the ball game. Now, looking at the game as a whole in last night, obviously it was a defensive battle. Both teams come out, that safety right away, but then it was a defensive battle from that point on, and it was a 9-8 ball game for the majority of the contest, and until about the last minute and a half is when things really started to explode fireworks wise.
Yeah, I know that I saw, I think, Scott's tweet where he talked about a crazy final 90 seconds kind of deal, but I thought even though it wasn't a high scoring game, it was an exciting game overall for both teams. And it was a hard fought game. We kind of slugged it out and moved the ball, and then both teams had some self-inflicted penalties, I'm sure, mistakes, and some unopportune penalties. I know Mount Air had a 99-yard touchdown run called back for a block in the back, and I'm sure they were probably upset about that. And we had some things that were unfortunate, a hold or face mask and stuff like that certainly we didn't like either. But both teams seemed to not let those bother them, and we both were able to get after it and try to finish the game. And unfortunately, for us, Mount Air had 1 or 2 plays left in the tank that we weren't able to contain. So,
absolutely, and it obviously a tough loss to a very hard-fought night overall. And Coach, now you get to prepare for Sadell, and we will talk about Sadell when we come back. Coming up next here on Tribe Talk, we are going to talk with the senior leader and senior captain of the Clarke offense and defense in Riley Domina. Next here on Tribe Talk. Back here on Tribe Talk, and joining us now is Riley Domina, a senior and the senior captain for the Clarke Indians. And Riley, thank you, first of all, for taking some time joining us here today.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Obviously, it was a tough night last night. You know, you come from behind in that game in the final few minutes of the ball game to take a lead there late in the game, and I believe it was a good drive for you guys to end the game on. Obviously, offensively, you're without Peyton. He goes down in that ball game, but you guys kind of find a way to get the job done on that final drive and persevere through all that stuff. Talk to us, I guess, about that final scoring drive on the offensive side. You guys go up 14-9, I do believe, at the time, and we're able to get that drive and really put Mount Ayr in a tough spot.
Yeah, offensively, we were just working for Peyton at that point. We're all like, all right, he got hurt. Well, now everyone has to step up and figure out what has to be done and how to get it done.
Absolutely, and you guys really got that job done there in that last drive. We're able to march the field and score late in the contest like that. Talk to us, I guess, about what the message was from Coach, what the message was from each other, and how you guys got that scoring drive to watch Chris run it in from 5 yards out.
It was, Coach was telling us the same plays that had been working all game, so we knew they were going to work. Then it came down to, we hadn't shown him a reverse yet, and so we're like, all right, Chris, we're giving the ball to you. Just follow your blockers and you can do it. And everyone just held up, and it just worked out so perfectly.
And that's always good, I'm sure, for you guys to drive down and score late in the game like that. Obviously, it didn't come out in your favor. Ultimately, you guys end up falling in the game by a couple of points, but do you feel when you're able to move the ball late in the game like that, you can use that in your back pocket later on in the season?
Oh, definitely. It's a weapon that not too many people have that can just, after a certain point, they're just like, well, I'm content with that. Mm-hmm. But then we were able just to go.
And you guys went pretty quickly right down the field. Obviously, Mount Ayr drives back, gets a nice kick return, and then puts themselves in good scoring position late in the game. Talk to us defensively. You're the defensive leader out there for these guys on the defensive side of the ball, you know, leading the team in tackles up to this point of the season, and really flying around. Talk to us, I guess, on the defensive side of the ball, and what's really impressed you most about this year's squad?
It's just how well everyone knows like their position, and yet alone how people can cover for others. Because like this week we had a certain coverage where people had to shift around as soon as they started moving, and everyone just figured out if I'm here at this time, and everyone's mesh just worked very well.
And it seems like you guys have got a very good team chemistry, really on both sides of the football, but on that defensive side especially, just from the film that we've seen and the game that I have seen, the defensive side of the football, which a lot of times you can't say in Clarke history has been a strong suit, but this year's defense has been a pretty strong suit for you guys, pitching a shutout and then throwing a shutout in the second half against Nottoway Valley. Then you come out against Red Oak and it's a 3-3 ball game at half, and then obviously last night it was a 9-8 ball game until the last minute and a half of the ball game when you guys put it in, and then they scored, obviously. So defensively, it seems like this is probably the best defensive unit Clarke's had in a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones that I've seen or been a part of, compared to other years where people were kind of just playing for themselves, compared to now where everyone's just playing for the man right next to them. They're just going to the ball, going to the play.
Now, you've been a part of this program for quite some time now, and obviously being a senior, you're going to be going and seeing from the outside, I guess, seeing from my perspective in next year's squad. But you're able to be a part of this year's team that started 2-0, sits 2-2 going into district play, and you look at this point last year, and it was an 0-4 squad, a complete different type of things. Talk to us, I guess, about the culture and the momentum that you guys have gained, and the change that coach has brought to the culture here.
It's definitely been a positive one. Everyone, we're all kind of skeptical at first, as most teams are when they get a new coach. But then as players have bought in, it's turned out more and more the way that it should be going. And we've had different people come out over the years, and after, I guess, seeing what happened last year, they came out this year expecting.
What made this year's team want to buy into that culture, I guess? You're in the locker rooms, you talk to all the guys. What has made this year's team different from last year's squad?
I think it's the team chemistry, honestly. If everyone is together at one point or another outside of football, during football, it's that we have the mentality that we can go out and compete with the best of the best.
Next week's district play begins. Next week it is Sadell that comes to town. And by the way, it's homecoming. And you're on court, am I not mistaken?
Yep, me, Taven, and Peyton all made it.
Congratulations, first of all, on making that. That's a big honor in its own right, I'm sure, to be a part of homecoming court. But aside all of the side stuff and what most people would consider distractions for the week, how do you guys get rid of those distractions or move some of those off the way so you can get prepared for Sadell and ultimately get and take care of homecoming like most people would like to?
It happens from week to week. People just have things going on, but as soon as you step onto the football field, you got to put those aside. No matter what's happening, you got to put those inside to better the team.
Big week with a lot of activities coming up, but the biggest one coming on Friday, you guys take on Sadell, and obviously it's a team that we've played multiple years in the past, dating clear back to when I was here playing. So it goes to show you got a team in Sadell, and we've been able to see them multiple times. Do you think that will help you guys in this week's preparation?
Definitely think that it does, being able to see them so much. But then you have to realize we're a completely different team than what we were last year. They're probably a different team than what they were last year, so it's going to be who can dial it in faster and who can punch the other in the mouth.
Riley, thank you for taking some time joining us here, and obviously good luck next week.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Riley Domina, a senior for your Clarke Indians. Welcome back into this week edition of Tribe Talk and week 4 edition, heading on into week number 5. And joining us now is junior Jackson Hogue to talk a little bit about the offensive and defensive fronts for the Clarke Indians. Jackson, thank you for, first of all, joining us, talking with us here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Obviously, it's been a tough couple of weeks, the last couple of weeks, but the season got off to a pretty darn good start for you guys, jumping out 2-0 to begin the season, and then now sitting here after a couple of tough losses, including last night's hard-fought game, 14-16 loss to Mount Air. Talk to us, Jackson, I guess, about last night's game in particular, and kind of your thoughts, your overview of the whole night.
Last night's game was a good fight. It was a good fight by our team. We didn't give up, and that was probably the most important part, because I believe we would get given up first half, we would have lost. I mean, we did lose, but we would have lost more. We would have blowout. That's it.
You guys kept the game pretty close for the most part of the night. Obviously, it was a 9-8 ball game throughout the evening. You guys were right there and had a couple opportunities late in drives to score inside the red zone. And Coach talked a little bit about how the offensive line in the first half wasn't necessarily getting a big enough push to get things going and continue drives. That second half, you guys made a change. What adjustments did you guys make in the second half that really got you moving the football?
Well, for me, I was pumped coming out. For the first play, I was pumped. I wanted to go hit them in their teeth, and that's what I did. But the rest of the team, they did their best. But second half, I don't know. I saw my buddy Peyton go down, and that really that fired me up. I wanted to go out there and I wanted to kick him in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did that. Well, we did that till the end.
Absolutely, and it shows as you guys drive right down the field late in the ball game and go up 14-9. As you guys are making that drive down to score the drive late in the game to score that last touchdown, talk to us, I guess, about what was going through your guys' mind as an offensive line unit moving the football late in the game.
I just kept telling them, think about Peyton. We need to do this for Peyton. Even when there was, I think, like 10 seconds left, I told him that's still possible. We just need a chance not to keep, just have heart. That's honestly what all we had. That's all we needed.
Absolutely. It's just been, obviously, with the Peyton situation, it's not ideal, and then the 2-point loss on top of it. But nonetheless, the team this year playing in a competitive game, comparative to a season ago, where you look at it at a season ago at this point, we're sitting 0-4. This year we're sitting 2-2, 2 big wins, and then in the 2 losses, it's been a loss of combined 16 points in the 2 losses this year, and I don't think there was a game last season that was even that close of a first half score, really. But you guys were able to get together, and coach has kind of talked about how he wants to get this culture changed. Do you feel that the culture within the team is changing?
Oh, absolutely. My freshman year here, it was everybody just hated on us, and I mean that's still true now. But we're definitely showing people that we're willing to fight. We're willing to fight for our legacy, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's a good way of putting it in that sense, and obviously everything that you guys have done so far to this point has really changed that perspective of people. But you look at the team. I guess you get an inside sight, kind of like the other 2 guys who have joined us here this morning, but about what's going on in the locker rooms and what you guys hear from each other. But do you feel that this year's team, I guess, what's different from this year's team to last year's team?
This year's team, we just have amazing team chemistry. That's what it goes down to. I mean, if you can't rely on your buddy to your left or right, then I don't know what to say. We help each other out. We keep motivating ourselves. We help each other.
Next week, Jackson's big week. Obviously, it's start of district play. That's first and foremost. Sadell comes to town on top of that. And, by the way, it's homecoming. So, obviously, homecoming has lots of distractions that come with it. They get a lot of big events all week long. How do you guys keep your nose to the grindstone, get the job done in practice leading up to Friday night's game?
Well, Coach definitely helps us with that. But we know we need to win homecoming, and we know that if we aren't focused, we will lose. We know if we come out flat first half, we will lose. So that's why we're all motivated to come out, punch them in the mouth, and just keep on going.
What does it, I guess, make you feel like, or what would it feel like to knock off Sadell, win homecoming, and pick up a homecoming victory, and ultimately show that Clarke's trying to get back on the map?
Honestly, it'd make me ecstatic. To hit Sadell and have them, just lose. Just even if it wasn't homecoming, have them lose. It would make me so happy. Because of last year, they definitely put our nose in the dirt. Just to put their nose in the dirt would be great.
Absolutely. A big week coming up, Jackson. Thank you for taking some time joining us here, and good luck next week heading into the week of practice.
Thank you for having me.
That's Jackson Hogue Jr. for your Clarke Indians. Welcome back into Tribe Talk here today, and talking with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Dwayne Mathis. And Coach, it's time to move on to homecoming week, time to move on to Sadell, and a big week coming up for you guys. Obviously, district week number 1 begins, and all of that in that front. as well. But just the different of activities going on throughout the week, especially during the game. A big activity you guys have set up for this year as well.
Yes, it is. It's homecoming week, and a lot of distractions. As football coaches love homecoming week. But it's awesome. We have 3 football players on the homecoming court this year. So congratulations to Peyton Winship and Riley Domina, Taven Floyd, to represent the football program there. It's just an outstanding accomplishment for them. And something that we're doing this year for our homecoming, obviously since it is homecoming, and to try to get our alumni and former football alumni kind of back here and really just get them more involved in our program. We're celebrating and honoring the 1987 conference championship, Little Hawkeye Conference champions, and the first playoff appearance by Clarke Community Schools in the postseason for football. So we're trying to get as many of those alumni back. We put it out there. Unfortunately, some, we got a guy that lives in Alaska and some other people across the United States. But hopefully we have a strong showing from those guys. I'd love to have them involved, and maybe if any of them can come and have, our team dinner with us and just a little time with our players, because eventually these players are going to turn into alumni too, and hopefully they're going to be around and want to stay involved with our program and be big supporters and cheerleaders for us too. I mean, because I'm an Indian now, but before I was an Indian, I was a Tiger, and one of the first scores I look up after looking up our district opponents and everything like that, I'm always curious how Tipton did, and that'll probably never change for these guys. It's never probably going to change for me, and certainly we just felt it would be really neat to be able to show some love towards all those people from the 87 team, Coach Goose, Coach Easter, who I know from looking at some of the comments was a big part of that team, and so we're pretty excited.
And a lot of reason to be getting to honor a team like that, and hopefully get to cement your guys' name right alongside of theirs as well moving forward. But homecoming week, you talked about it right there in the open. Lots of distractions, lots of activities, lots of events going on throughout the week. I guess the big question is, and it might be a rhetorical question, but how do you hone in the guys long enough for 3 hours of practice each week to each day to get prepared for Sadell?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'll have to, try to hone them in too much, just because I think, we're getting some players back this week that I think is going to give us a little extra bounce in our step, and they're going to be pretty excited to be out there. And it's homecoming. No one likes to lose on homecoming. So, the homecoming dance isn't nearly as fun when you lose homecoming. All these festivities aren't as fun when you lose homecoming. So, and we got to experience that last year, and the boys don't want to go through that again this year. So, I think it's going to be. They understand that, and I think that they'll be really focused on Sadell, and Sadell poses a challenge for us, and I just know that our guys have never backed down from one.
Homecoming's obviously a big time, and like you said, it'd be a big confidence boost not only for the team but for the community to win this homecoming ball game. And Sadell, a team that Clarke has seen many a times over the past few years. You guys obviously had them on the schedule last year, and seen them prior in years of past as well. So a team in Sadell that's very familiar with us, and we're very familiar with them. Talk to us, I guess, about Sadell that you do know to this point of the season. I know there's obviously not much that you can look at early on, but your early onset of the season so far with Sadell.
Well, obviously we played them last year. We have a little bit. They had a new head coach, Coach Russell, last year, and this year, I mean, they don't have some of the dynamic players that they had last season. Their quarterback was outstanding. They had a really strong running back last year. They do still have some great athletes on their team. Their quarterback, Cash Lee, who I know is a multi-sport athlete for them, really is. It's going to be. We're going to have our hands full with him. I mean, he is going to extend plays, and we got to find a way to contain him and just be physical. But with that said, I thought Mount Air, who we just played last night, has a lot of physical players. John Shields is probably going to be one of the better players we face all season long. He's just a solid football player, and we matched his physicality, and I thought, and speaking with TJ and Scott after the game, that the second half of the ball game, our line was more physical and kind of imposed their will on Mount Air, and so we'll hopefully build on that for Sadell. I mean, that's my message to our guys is, look, we set the tone and established a pace against Mount Air, and when you have long drives like that, it sets you up to be in good position, and I think if we can build on that and continue it, we're going to be sitting in a pretty good position.
Absolutely, and obviously, I guess the other thing that points out about this whole week too is district opponent number 1. That's the next thing, and probably the most important thing. Is this your first district game of the year, and taking on Sadell, a team, like we said, we've talked about, a team that offensively for Sadell has been a traditional option team, and from what I know has not really changed much. I would assume is still similar in the option and what they run, and more of a, for you guys defensively, more of an assignment kind of based offense to be running against.
They are. I mean, right now they're a double wing team. They'll put that guy in motion. They'll run some option out of it. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. We have to play. We have to play our assignments. We can't get sucked in on as DN's crashing, trying to get to the running back, and then he keeps it and pulls it and runs for 20, 30, 40 yards or a touchdown. So we just have to follow our keys, read our assignments, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. I mean, play assignment football.
Coach, before we head on into the first week of district and a homecoming week, final thoughts here heading on in, and what you're looking forward to this week.
Well, I'm just looking forward to building on what we established last night. I know it's, again, I'm not trying to, I remember, I know you're a huge Hawkeye fan, Damon, so,
yeah.
There was a time when Iowa, I believe, was playing like Texas, or they were playing a really strong opponent, and it was like Hayden Fry's first year, and a reporter came and asked like Hayden Fry, or he saw reporters like, patting players on the back and congratulating them because they were playing a team, it might have been Nebraska, that they like almost beat. They came really close to beating.
Mm-hmm.
And Hayden Fry he said, he's like, if I ever see you congratulating my players for losing, I'm gonna punch you in the face. And he's like, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to win, and we don't have moral victories. Well, I don't necessarily like to disagree with Hayden Fry too many times because I think he's a great coach. But this is, in a sense, a moral victory for us because we were able to compete and we had our chances to win, just like we want to do. We want to have the opportunity to do. And, I think that, our kids can build on this. I mean, they can see, I think that it's a slow tide,
mm-hmm.
but it is turning a little bit in the sense of where we need to get to as a program. We're nowhere where we want to be, nowhere where other programs are at, but we're taking steps forward, and we got better this week, even though we unfortunately came out on the losing end of it. But traditionally that Mount Air program is a great program. I mean, that's nothing to hang our heads on. I mean, it's not like we were playing the Children of the Blind or Sisters of the Poor or anything like that this week. Mount Ayr is a solid program, and they're gonna win a lot more ball games this year. And we just have to focus on preparing for Sadell and stay focused and have a good week of practice and lead it into the ball game. And our kids aren't going to need any motivation. They're not going to need any rah-rah speech. They're going to be ready to play and jacked up. And we just got to find a way to keep them not too high, not too low, and just focus on the game and let everything else take care of itself.
Coach, thank you for taking some time with us as always here and getting ready to go for week number 5. Good luck against Sadell.
Hey, appreciate it, Damon. And as always, one tribe.
That's Tribe Talk for this week. We'll get ready for Sadell coming up next.